When we think about getting stronger, our minds usually jump to all the things we need to start doing, right? Like hit the gym, eat more salads, that kind of thing. But what if the real key to mental strength isn't about adding new habits, but getting rid of the bad ones? That's the powerful idea at the heart of psychotherapist Amy Morin's book, 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do. And today, we're going to dive into that idea by looking at 3 of her most incredible stories that really bring these principles to life.
So before we get into all the don'ts, let's just ask the big question, what are we even talking about here? What does being mentally strong actually look like?
Well, according to Morin, it's not about being some tough guy or bottling up your emotions. Nope, it's really a 3-part skill. It's being able to regulate your emotions, manage what's going on in your head, and act in a positive way no matter what life is throwing at you. And honestly, the best part is, this is a skill. It's something anyone can build.
Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting. It's all about the stories we tell ourselves. They literally shape our mental strength. And to really see this in action, let's take a look at the amazing story of a little boy named Jack.
So Jack's life gets completely flipped upside down after this really traumatic accident. I mean, he was healing physically, but emotionally, he was just in a downward spiral. This kid who was normally so happy was now withdrawn, irritable, and just totally trapped in this story of being a victim.
And his parents, they were just trying to protect him, but they were accidentally making that victim story even stronger. But then a therapist helped them flip the script entirely. Just look at this slide. The change is massive. They went from seeing him as a victim to seeing him as a survivor who did the impossible.
And this right here, this was the turning point. The therapist didn't just give him sympathy. She gave him a brand new, way more powerful identity. In that one moment, Jack stopped being defined by what happened to him and started being defined by how he fought back. He even ended up writing a book and drawing himself as a superhero.
So the huge lesson here. Jack's story is a perfect example of the first and maybe the most important thing mentally strong people don't do. They don't waste time feeling sorry for themselves. When you do that, you're basically just giving away all your power to your circumstances, and you're stuck dwelling on a past you can't ever change.
All right, let's jump to our next story. This one's about a man named Dale, and his story really shows us how sometimes avoiding risk can actually be the biggest risk of all. Dale was just stuck. You know that feeling? He'd been a shop teacher for 30 years, and the passion was just gone. He was burned out, depressed, and had this dream of opening his own furniture business. But the fear of the financial risk, it just kept him paralyzed in a job he didn't love anymore.
Now this is so key. Mental strength is not about being reckless. It's about breaking a bad pattern. So instead of just staying stuck, Dale decided to take some calculated risks. He didn't just up and quit his job. As you can see, he took these smart, small steps to kind of test the waters of his dream. And here's the twist I just love. The act of just doing something, of taking that risk, had this totally unexpected effect. It didn't just lead to a new business, it actually made him fall back in love with his old job. Sharing what he was learning with his students gave him this whole new energy. Turns out, the journey itself was the real reward. Okay, our final story. This one is maybe the most powerful of them all. It's about a young woman named Sarah, and her story just completely redefines what it means to find purpose when you're facing, well, impossible odds. So Sarah's just 24 years old, and she gets hit with the most devastating news you can possibly imagine, a terminal cancer diagnosis. But her response was, well, it was extraordinary. Instead of wasting any energy on what she couldn't control, like her diagnosis, she put all of her focus on what she could do, help other people. She found out that other patients were literally sleeping in their cars because they couldn't afford a hotel to get their treatment. And right then and there, she made it her mission to fix that.
So she comes up with this idea for Sarah's House, a place for patients to stay. And it just became this movement. In just 18 months, her foundation, run entirely by volunteers, raised nearly $1 million. It's just this incredible example of what happens when you shift your focus from what the world owes you to what you can give to the world.
But this is the part that just floors me. As her health was getting worse, to the point where she couldn't even dress herself, she wrote this in her journal: "I'm the luckiest woman alive." By choosing not to feel like the world owed her anything, she found this deep purpose that was bigger than her circumstances. I mean, that is the peak of mental strength. So the stories of Jack, Dale, and Sarah are just wow. They show these principles in the real world. They didn't feel sorry for themselves, they didn't give away their power, they didn't shy away from change, and they didn't feel the world owed them a thing.
So, how do we actually apply this to our own lives? Let's boil it all down into a practical plan. Morin gives us this simple 3-point plan to coach yourself. First, you got to monitor your behavior. That means catching yourself when you start to avoid change, or give up too easily, or keep making the same old mistakes. Second, regulate your emotions. Don't let things like self-pity or getting jealous of other people's success run the show. And third, really think about your thoughts. Challenge those stories in your head that tell you you're a victim or that you deserve more than you're getting.
And that really brings us to the core message of the whole book. Building mental strength isn't about some huge, dramatic life change. It's about small, consistent choices every single day. So the question I want to leave you with is this. What's one small thing you can stop doing, starting right now, to start building your own mental muscle?